everybody, welcome back. So today is going to be another just huge haul of first impressions. I went a little nuts online, you know, with purchasing things. Mcgrath had a sale, and then I was like, well, I don't have anything from Bakerie, let's go and test them out. And then it just like spiraled into this whole other thing. And so I've got like a whole face of fresh makeup to do, you know, because I have all these subscription boxes too, and so I ended up getting like a ton of new things that I actually want to use from Ipsy and from BoxyCharm, and so it's just going to be a whole bunch of all kinds of things. So, you know, let's go ahead and just jump right in, I guess. Pardon the hair. I showered after going to the gym, and I took a nap on accident with a towel in, and so my natural, like, little bit of poofiness is coming out. I thought it was a little cute, and I didn't really feel like straightening it, so we're gonna roll with it. Also, I think I've just pretty much decided that all first impressions videos are going to be done here so that the puppers can be with me and hang out and you guys can see them and it can be cool and we'll just have a party with makeup. So we're going to jump right in with the eyes. So the first new impression thing is going to be my eye primer from Pretty Vulgar. Don't focus on me, focus on this. There. Okay. I think that's as close as we're gonna get. Yeah, so this did come in one of my subscription boxes, and so I have not used it yet, and also have zero remembrance of which of my subscription boxes, because I get 2 from BoxyCharm and 2 from Ipsy, and so I have no idea. This is kind of an interesting texture. It's like a little bit goopy on there, and it does have a little bit of a tint to it. It's not a terrible consistency. It doesn't leave any kind of color behind after you apply it. So that's good. A slight tack to it. We'll see if that helps with sticking power. All right, so from Mcgrath, I went ahead and got one of their quads. This is the Blitz Astral Quad Nocturnal Nirvana, and it comes, so all of their palettes and things, lipsticks, whatever, come in these really cute packages that are almost like little presents where you have to undo the string. Oh my god, okay. So they all come in packaging like this, where it has a little sheet of paper inside of there that tells you the names of the shades, and then this is what this one looks like. So those are some really pretty shimmery shades, and so because they are all metallic shades, I am going to cheat just a tiny bit, but I'm still going to stay within the Pat McGrath realm, and so I'm going to use the Divine Rose 1 to kind of assist. I'm not going to open this up while holding it up. But yeah, so this is what this one looks like on the inside, and it does have a few more mattes on there, and so I'm going to use those for transitions before I jump into the new one that I had gotten, the new quad. I'm going to kick this eye look off with the transition shade Valoria from the eyeshadow palette Divine Rose. Well, I can already comment that the primer that I put on my eyes, I can distinctly notice it as I am using my brush. I'm not entirely certain that I actually appreciate that texture because it is a little bit sticky, and so it's causing my brush to kind of catch a little bit, and so it's not quite as smooth as it normally would be on my eyes with some of the other primers that I use, and so I'm already kind of not a huge fan of that. The next shade that I decided to use was Extreme Mahogany for the outside corner, and then I just blended it in a little bit from there. I actually don't think I've used the Divine Rose one yet, and so yeah, this is also a first impression for that one, so not even cheating. For the shimmer shade, I did try and use a brush first, but that didn't do anything, and so I swapped over to using my finger instead. Oh yeah. That's the way to go. Okay, so if you were wanting to know, the purple shade in that quad, it's got a bit of a drier texture on there, and so trying to use a dry brush with that just was not doing anything, like nothing was coming out. Alright, first impressions, I think that the matte shades were really, really nice, but Mcgrath always does a really nice job with their matte shades. The purple does give off a really nice color payoff if you use your fingers, but if you try and use a brush that's dry without like any setting spray or anything on there, the color payoff is almost non-existent. And so I would recommend using a finger and then maybe using a slightly damp brush just to kind of touch up any areas where you feel like it's not giving you enough coverage. But super pretty. I'm gonna clean this all up with concealer as I always do. So let's go ahead and jump into the next thing. I'll finish up the inner corners and then the under eye after I'm done putting on the rest of my face. All right, to start off for the face, for foundation, I'm gonna be using the Beauty Bakerie Insta Bake Aqua Glass Foundation, and mine is in the shade 339N, and we'll see if I grab the correct shade or not. I never know when I order things online, so it's a fun little experiment for everybody. So far blending out really nice. No issues so far. It's decent coverage. I do really like that. It's, I would say, a lighter, maybe not light coverage, but certainly no more than a light to medium coverage, because I am still getting some of my skin discoloration from underneath, but very nice and light feeling. I don't feel like I have a ton of product on my face, and so I think that that initial feeling is very nice. All right, let's jump into the concealer, and this is also something that I got in one of my subscription boxes. It's the Hey Honey Trick and Treat Concealer Active Propolis Cream Concealer, whatever that means. Treatment benefits. Light to medium is the shade. Oh, okay. That came right out. I am used to having concealers that use a doe foot, and so having just direct application out of a tube to me is a little bit weird. I did get a pro tip on concealer to let it dry up just a tiny bit before trying to blend it out, and then you don't have to use as much product. So we'll see how that goes. Also, if you guys can see this stuff that's going on my neck, just ignore it. I got into a fight with a barbell today at the gym, and it just, the knurling, which in case you don't know, the knurling is like the rough parts of the bar that help like with grip, and on the men's size bars, oftentimes they'll have a knurling thing in the center of the bar too. That was the only bar that they had available at my gym today, and I was doing cleans and I caught it too high, and it the knurling just was like scraped the shit out of my neck. So that was a fun experience. I do think that this shade of concealer is a good shade for me. No problems there, which is nice, because I think sometimes when they just say like that they're these generic like light to medium or medium to dark, I think that that sometimes is a little bit concerning, because there's way too much risk of not being the correct shade. Ooh, that cleaned up super nice. Okay, I appreciate that. But yeah, you do have to be cautious. Like, that's for sure something that doesn't work for everyone, but I think that sometimes some of these smaller companies, they can't afford to have like 30 to 50 shade ranges like some of the bigger companies can. I think if you only have like 3 or 4 shades, but you're a tiny brand that's just slowly starting out, I think that's slightly more excusable than like the bigger brands, where if you are a multi-million-dollar company, I'm gonna expect you to have a ton of shade ranges. It's just how it goes. A little bit of sort of pinkness going on my cheeks. I don't know why I'm trying to cover that up, as if I'm not just gonna smack like a ton of blush back on my face in 2 seconds anyway. Falcon's just being so good behind. You can barely see his little nose back there, but he's being so good. Rogue like took off. Yeah, first impressions I think are really nice on this foundation. It doesn't appear really to be cakey at all. I think that the concealer is definitely like a light concealer, and like I don't just mean like the shade, I mean like light coverage concealer, and yet also still a little bit patchy. So I'm not really completely sold on the concealer bit, just because it is already getting a little bit cakey in the areas that I applied it. And it's extra noticeable because everywhere else the foundation is sitting really, really nicely, and so I can definitely see that it's the concealer that I am having issues with and not the foundation. I think that's part of why I love the subscription boxes, is that they give me a chance to try things out that I may or may not have tried out otherwise, and I find out for myself before I spend a ton of money on it whether it's actually something that I want. That's why I like those. But let's go ahead and move on. You know what I didn't do? I did not put primer on my face before putting the foundation on. Well, I was gonna use the Dr. Brandt primer that I got, but poop. Moving on. I am gonna do my brows off camera real quick, just because I don't have a new product for brows. But then we'll jump right back in a minute. Okay, we're back. My brows are done. I also did do the inner corner of my eye. I used for that on the Divine Rose palette, the Iridescent Pink 003. And then on the under eye, on the quad, I used the gold shade Incandescent Gold 003. I don't know if those numbers actually have any bearing on anything. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we are going to throw on some blush, bronzer, and highlight. And for that, I can say that I've got Beauty Bakerie Glower. So I went ahead and got the Neapolitan face bar that does have blush, highlight, and bronzer in there. I'm not going to use the highlight though, just because I do have a separate Milk and Honey palette. Unfortunately, when I looked at it, the Milk and Honey palette, it did have 2 of the shades break, which was super duper sad. But the 2 shades on the left, the Oh Honey, which is kind of like a purplish pink, and then the Spoiler Alert, which is more of a gold, those did survive. And I mean, I keep it super tight on there, and so then the other 2 shades I'll just use as like a loose powder highlight, I guess. But certainly not gonna get rid of it just because they broke a little bit on the way over here. Let's go ahead and jump into the blush first. So on the Neapolitan bar, the blush shade, I don't think it actually, yeah, it does, okay, there are no shade names, so it's just whatever you want to call it. So I'm gonna go a little bit lighter on there to begin with, because I have no idea. Okay, it's not too crazy pigmented, which is nice after the NARS where that disaster of like how pink that turned out on my face was just never gonna recover from that. Yeah, this is a nice blendable shade. I think that's a complimentary shade for me. I think it's kind of nice. I don't know why I always just keep adding more and more blush until it's like, it doesn't look like a burnt tomato by the end of it. All right, on to the bronzer. And this is definitely like a chocolatey brown, so I'm gonna lightly dust that underneath. I totally did this backwards from how I normally do. I normally do my bronzer first and then my blush. So I'm just all over the place. Forgetting primer, I mean, just forgetting the steps for how to put makeup on. I think the problem is I've just done so many freaking challenges lately that like I don't even remember how to put makeup on properly anymore because it's just all a mess. Oh gosh. I did not tap my brush off. Jesus Christ. I'm falling apart, guys. It started off so great and I was all happy to be here. Look at this. What am I? Oh my god. Okay. Buff this shit out. Just gonna have a really warm forehead on there. I think it's the hair. The hair is just, it's down, and so I'm not business ready anymore. Okay, so I definitely think that the bronzing shade is more pigmented on the first go than the blush is. And I also think that going from like the first tap into the product to like the second and third tap in for the other side of my face, it definitely immediately got more pigmented. And so I think that there might be like a small protective coating that you have to get past, and then it's just pigment all the way. So just be cautious. I do also think that the pointed brush that I was using, it's not really, I mean, I smoosh it on my face so much that it's no longer really pointed, but this is a more pointed brush than my flathead brush. I would recommend for this one using a flathead brush just because it dispenses the product a little bit more evenly rather than like as pointed as it was on my forehead. And so I would recommend that instead. Okay, on to the highlight. I think we're gonna go a little more gold just to match the under eye portion. It's a nice gold shade on there. Very pretty. I'm so bummed that those other two broke because like that Be Sweet is like a coppery type orangey red, and it looks so pretty. So my first impressions on the highlight palette. I am so bummed that it broke because these are really nice highlighters. This pigment is, oh, he's dreaming. His tail was whapping me and I was like, what's going on here? He's dreaming right behind me. You can see his body. But yeah, I think that this highlight palette is really, really good. I'm not too sold on the Neapolitan bar yet. I'm gonna need to try that a little bit more just to get a feel for the shades, but the Milk and Honey palette, 100% I would recommend. These highlights are super nice, super strong and pigmented on there. I really like that. So that, I'm a big fan. Okay, moving on. The last two things that we have are going to be mascara and lips. For setting spray, it is sort of like half a new setting spray because it's the all-nighter honey, and I have the regular all-nighter, but I just picked up like a travel size of the honey one to try out, and so sort of a first impression in that I haven't used the honey version yet. Oh, it smells very nice. I also held it way too close to my face. It was just Ritz. That actually seems to have, okay, this is probably just 100% my imagination because there's not a chance in hell that setting or spray actually did this, but it, like, maybe I just like haven't looked at my face that closely, but it looked like it blurred out the pores on my cheeks. And especially since I didn't put any primer on, that could have happened. Either way, it smells really nice. It's not an overbearing smell, but it's a nice, soft, sweet smell. And so I actually kind of like that. But on to the last two things. So for mascara, I have the Max Factor X False Lash Epic and the brush. Okay. The brush is one of these like crazy looking brushes that has like the spikes on the end, and it's one of the silicone type materials, which I hate. I like the regular bristles. Whatever, we'll give it a go. It's not terrible. I wouldn't say that it's like thickening by any means. I feel like I'm gonna stab my eye on my lower lash. Okay, don't recommend this brush for your lower lashes at all. Yeah, it's not volumizing my lashes by any stretch of the imagination. But initial first impression, it's okay. Maybe, like, I mean, the only thing I'm really noticing that it did on here is that my eyelashes are black now, which makes sense because this is it's the black shade, not like brown or anything. But beyond that, it didn't really do anything else for my eyelashes. And normally that's part of why I like the naturally feeling bristled brushes, because those really amp up the volume of my eyelashes to where like I don't have to wear false lashes or anything. And with this, I feel like it's not, I mean, meh, not super impressed. Last thing, I did get this in another one of my subscription boxes, but I really like this company, especially their eyeliners. I'm a big fan of, and that's Makiage. This is what it looks like. It's actually in really nice, like, glass packaging, and it's got like a solid weight to it, so I'm pretty impressed. And it's got like this is a kind of neutrally peachy brown type shade, and it is a Infinity Longwear Matte Lip Cream, and this shade is the shade 411 Matte Dreamy. Let's give this a go. There are some lipstick brushes where I don't know what it is, like if they're just too soft, but they just like, they tickle the crap out of my, okay. It's so ticklish, like I don't know. I mean, this shade is like right up my alley. I love a good neutral lip, and this is a good neutral lip shade. Nothing on the teeth. Yeah, I really like this shade. This is a very pretty shade. Okay, noted. I'm gonna have to check out Makiage for some of their other lipstick products then, but I really like this. But I think, yeah, overall first impressions, I love the eyeshadow shades now that I'm finally figuring out the different methods of application of the Pat McGrath shadows. They're working a lot better for me, and I'm finding that I really, really do love the shades that they offer in their palettes. The foundation, anywhere where I don't have concealer, it's holding up really, really nice. So highly recommend the foundation, and that's obviously even without the face primer on there, that it's looking real nice. Nothing's overly creasy. The concealer, a little bit patchy on my chin. The eyes are actually not as bad anymore, and so I don't know, maybe because I've been sitting in the hot heat that is my second floor, maybe it melted it down a little bit, and so around the eyes it's not as bad as what it was initially when I was looking at it, so that's good. The shade was also fine, I suppose. I think that I don't know about the Neapolitan bar. I'm on the fence on this one. I think I need to test it out a little bit more, work on the blending a little bit more, because I feel like I didn't put too much blush on. Like, I was really trying to be careful initially because I didn't want to go too heavy-handed, and yet somehow I still ended up going heavy-handed, so the bronzer, I don't know. I think I prefer the buildable bronzers. Like, I think that's part of why I like the Physicians Formula one so much, is that is like a really good buildable bronzer, and this one was just right off the bat super pigmented. Like, even if I can really go in ham on the Physicians Formula one and get a ton of product on my brush and it still blends out really well, and this took some work to blend out. So I think that this one is a little bit too heavy for me as far as like the amount of work that I have to do, but the highlight palette, love, 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 love. Absolutely love it. The mascara, I mean, not a huge fan. And then the lip product, I can say that after having it on for a couple minutes, I do absolutely love this shade, but it is drying down very much like a liquid lip. But one thing I do like is that with a lot of the liquid lipsticks that I put on, they have a tendency to immediately get on my teeth while they're drying, and this guy, no teeth problems whatsoever. So that's at least a good thing. And I do love this color. Not too bad for these first impressions. I'm sorry that Falco has just been hiding behind me this whole time, and like Rogue's right up here, and so you can't really see her either, so minimal puppy action. That is my overall thoughts on everything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this and that it was informative or whatever, you know. I always enjoy doing these first impression videos just because I love testing out new makeup and seeing if it actually works for me or not. If you guys like this, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, toss me a subscribe. I would love that. But yeah, other than that, just you guys go have a good one.